Hello everyone and welcome to Rollinish. My name is Matt, and in this video we are going to focus on the Otherworldly patrons. This is going to be the unique relationship between the Warlock and their patron, where they get their magic from. Typically there is some kind of agreement or pact made between this entity and the Warlock for the exchange of knowledge and power. So, if you haven't done so already, be sure to go back to our class playlist and check out the Intro to Warlock video. This is going to break down all the features that all Warlocks get. In addition to that, be sure to check out the Warlock Eldritch Invocations video in our playlist, as that's going to break down all the Eldritch Invocation options available to you for your Warlock as you continue to build and grow your character. This video is going to focus on the otherworldly patrons that are found in your player's handbook. These are beings that are going to serve as the patron for your Warlock, and they typically inhabit other planes of existence. They don't have to be gods, but most oftentimes they're almost godlike in power. These are going to be very powerful beings and not just random folks in the universe. Various patrons give their warlocks access to different powers and invocations and expect significant favors in return. That is how that relationship typically works. So if you're building a warlock, be sure to engage your DM during the build process so you can really flesh out the backstory behind your warlock, how they came to be in contact with this patron, what is the nature of their pact or agreement, how do they communicate with each other, and so on. It is a very collaborative class and can really provide great moments of just monologues, dialogues, conversations of role play at your table. Your player's handbook features 3. That does not mean these are the only 3. Of course, there are other supplements out there like Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, Xanathar's Guide to Everything, and a lot of third-party content that is out there now that offer different patrons and so on that you could utilize. The player's handbook also has a list of different pantheons that you can use. You don't have to use deities or gods, but you certainly could. Just work with your DM. Your DM might have some kind of villain or hero or legendary, NPC that is part of the story that they could maybe make into your patron as part of the overall campaign. It's a thing that we DMs like to do. Take things from your backstory and weave it into the story. So that might be a good opportunity. So while you're looking through this stuff, work with your DM. This video, we're just going to talk about, as an example, what is available to you in your player's handbook. And the first patron we come across is going to be the Archfey. This could be a lord or lady of the Fey, a creature, a legend who holds secrets that were maybe lost or forgotten before mortal races were even born. So we're talking about typically an older or ancient entity that has Fey ties. The Fey is different. So this could be something that is a patron whose motives are unscrutable, often whimsical or strange. And as an example, there are beings that exist in D&D lore that you could use as an example. And the ones provided here in your player's handbook are Prince of the Frost, the Queen of Air and Darkness, the ruler of the Gloaming Court, Titania of the Summer Court, her consort Oberon, the Green Lord, or Hirsum, the Prince of Fools, and also Ancient Hags. These are known characters in D&D lore of the Fae, and those are just examples of who you could choose. But that is a good way to give an example. So the Archfey, if you are interested in the Feywild, the Fey realms, that is a good way to take this. When you choose the Archfey, there's going to be an expanded spell lists that are going to have options for you to choose from that might not be available in the other options that make it unique to Fey nature. So at first, you get 5 of your 5 spell levels. When you reach the level of Warlock needed to cast these types of leveled spells, you're going to get access to these specific spells. For example, Fairy Fire and Sleep. These are first level spells designed to control the battlefield. So Sleep could put an opponent or several opponents to magical sleep and make you maybe have an easier time in combat, or maybe out of combat, use them to slip past the guards, etc. Whereas Fairy Fire is going to create something like an area of effect that is going to shed dim light in a small radius. So in that radius, an attack roll against an affected creature is going to have advantage, and if there's anything invisible in that radius, they won't benefit from being invisible. So it could really expose an invisible creature. That's pretty cool. At second level, you'll get access to Calm Emotions and Phantasmal Force. Calm Emotions is what it sounds like. It could suppress effects caused by being charmed or frightened. Phantasmal Force could include some type of phantasmal force, or maybe an illusionary creature or object that is meant to, distract. That's pretty good. You get access to Blink, and that could, depending on the die roll, could give you access to see into the ethereal plane, or occupy a space there, so you can kind of like dip out and protect yourself. Plant growth is what it sounds like. It causes plants to grow at a rapid rate, and it can also create difficult terrain in the area. Dominate Beast allows you to charm a beast creature and have it treat you like a friend. Perhaps maybe even get it to attack that creature or run over there, and really help manipulate the numbers on the battlefield. Greater Invisibility is another option that will come to you as a 4th level spell. Creature you touch becomes invisible until the spell ends, along with anything they're carrying on their person. Dominate Person is similar to Dominate Beast. You can charm them and get them to do certain things or perform certain actions, but it has to be a person, a humanoid creature. And Seeming. Seeming is a spell that is going to create a illusionary appearance. Basically, you can change the way somebody is disguised via their clothing, their armor, their weapons, make them a foot shorter or taller, appear thin or fat or in between. But you can't change their body type. So you got to keep the same arrangement of limbs. It's funny that we have to specify this. But yeah, you just change somebody's appearance. But you also get access to certain features too. So starting at first level, the first feature you get is Fey Presence. This is your patrons going to bestow upon you the ability to project a beguiling and fearsome presence as a Fey. So it's kind of like a jump scare tactic, if you will. It changes your appearance briefly as an action. You can cause each creature in a 10-foot cube originating from you to make a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. And if they fail, they're going to be charmed or frightened, your choice. Based on what they see, what is it you're projecting? It could charm them. Maybe it's something attractive to them and they can be lured and charmed by it. Or maybe it's something really scary and you scare the daylights out of them. You can do that too. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. At 6th level, you get a feature called Misty Escape. You essentially puff into a mist, but you leave behind a mist and you just disappear. What you're actually doing is teleporting up to 60 feet away, and where you're appearing, staying invisible. So they see you kind of just, but they don't know where you are, where you went. They might think that you're invisible standing right where you left, but you're probably 60 feet elsewhere. It's called Misty Escape. You're going to remain invisible until the start of your next turn, or until you attack or cast a spell. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finished a short or long rest. Beguiling Defenses is the next one you get at 10th level. Your patron teaches you how to turn the mind-affecting magic of your enemies against them, meaning you're going to be immune to being charmed. And when another creature tries to charm you, you can use your reaction to attempt to turn the charm back on that creature. They must succeed on a wisdom saving throw against your warlock spell DC, and if they fail, they're charmed by you for a minute or until the creature takes any damage. So that's pretty cool. So even the enemies that your DM might throw at you who might not know that you have that, you could really turn the tides in the story and add a member to your party for a minute. Dark Delirium is the next feature you get at 14th level. You can plunge a creature into an illusionary realm. As an action, you choose a creature within 60 feet of you. It needs to make a wisdom saving throw against your warlock spell save DC. And if they fail, they are either charmed or frightened, your choice, by you for a minute. Or until your concentration is broken. So this is going to be treated like a concentration effect. So much like there are spells that you concentrate on, this feature is going to require your concentration. Until this illusion ends, the creature thinks it is lost in a misty realm, and the appearance of which you choose. So you describe, okay, you know, I'm the DM, and maybe I threw an evil mage at you, right? And you use this effect on my evil mage. You could describe what that realm looks like. You're in a foggy graveyard, and the creature can see and hear only itself and the illusion. So, what appears in that illusion? Are they in a misty grave and there's a bunch of hands crawling out of the dirt and there's hundreds of them everywhere, and that's why they're afraid? What do they encounter in this misty realm? Again, it's just an illusion and it's meant to charm or frighten them, but you could describe this trance that you just put them in, because they feel as though they are really in that realm wherever you put them, which is a really cool feature, and you can kind of take somebody out of turn for quite a while, since it lasts a minute. Okay, that is the weird nature of the Archfey. The next option you can choose is the Fiend. And the Fiend is going to come from lower planes of existence. Their aims are going to be evil, even if your character is a good-natured or good-aligned warlock fighting against that evil. I described that as something similar to that earlier. Such beings are going to desire corruption and destruction of all things, ultimately including you, and you know this. So fiends powerful enough to forge such a pact within D&D's existing lore are going to be the Demogorgon or Orcus, Baphomet, archdevils like Asmodeus, Despater, Mephistopheles, Belial, or even pit fiends and Balors that are especially mighty could do this, or some of the ooze creatures that appear in the outer planes could be your fiend that makes this pact with you. When you get the Fiend as your patron, some of the expanded spells are going to be Burning Hands, creates a 15-foot cone of fire emanating from you. Or Command, the ability to utter a one-word command to a creature. If they fail their saving throw, they've got to do their best to obey as long as it doesn't harm or kill themselves. You'll get access to Blindness, Deafness. You get to choose which. If they fail the saving throw, maybe they're blind. Maybe they're deaf. It's up to you. Scorching Ray is an evocation spell that allows you to create up to 3 rays of fire and hurl them at targets. It could be focused on one target, or they could be spread out, and each of those rays deals 2d6 damage. So that could be a very nice spell to have, especially if you focus all 3 rays on one creature, assuming all 3 rays hit, and each one doing 2d6. You're talking 6d6 focused fire damage at one target. That is almost as powerful as a fireball, which is 8d6. Speaking of fireball, you'll get access to Fireball. It's a 20-foot radius. They need to make a dex save, and if they fail, they take 8d6 fire damage, or half if they succeed. Stinking Cloud is another area of effect, creating a 20-foot radius of nauseating gas centered on a point in range. If your targets fail their Constitution saving throw against that poison, they're going to spend its action retching and reeling. You get them to waste their turn as they puke and cough for the entirety of their turn. Characters that don't need to breathe or are immune to poison automatically succeed on this saving throw. And if you succeed, nothing happens. It's kind of a waste. But also worth noting, a moderate wind up to 10 miles an hour could disperse this cloud after 4 rounds. So depending on where you are, if you're outside, this might only last you 4 rounds if it's windy. In stronger windy conditions, 20 miles an hour could disperse this after 1 round. So it's really up to the setting, and it's a good question to know. Maybe there's a nature check involved, DMs. If your player asks you, hey, what kind of wind conditions is it here in this combat? They might be trying to figure out how long this is going to last. Anyway, that's inside baseball for you for you DMs out there. Next, you get a spell called access to a spell called Fire Shield, which lasts up to 10 minutes. It creates a 10-foot radius of bright light and a 10-foot radius of dim light. You can do a the flames either provide you with a warm shield or a chill shield, your choice, and it will grant you resistance to cold damage if you choose the warm shield, right? Because the cold damage is not going to make its way through your warm shield. Or the chill shield grants you resistance to fire damage. So it's a way to kind of use fire, magical fire, to shield yourself from certain elements. Also, whenever a creature within 5 feet of you hits you with a melee attack, the shield erupts into flame. The attacker is going to take 2d8 fire from a warm shield or 2d8 cold damage from a chill shield. Very cool spell. It's meant to protect you, but it also hurts your enemies if they try to attack you with melee, because that shield is surrounding your body, right? Wall of Fire is what it sounds like. You can produce a wall of flame. You can have it burning on one side and protecting on the other. Those who are on the too close to that wall will need to make a dex saving throw. If they fail, they'll take 5d8 fire damage, or half if they succeed. There's more details on how you can structure that wall. Lastly, you'll get access to Flame Strike. 10-foot radius, 40-foot high cylinder. At a point in range, you force them to make a dexterity saving throw, and the creature takes 4d6 fire damage and 4d6 radiant damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. I really like this spell because it is 2 different elements of damage, so in case you're going up against a creature that has resistance to one of them, you can still do something to them. And then if you upcast it, you could do even more damage. And then there's the Hallow spell. You touch a point and infuse the area with holy or unholy power. It'll be a radius of 60 feet, and the spell fails if the radius includes an area already under the effect of Hallow spell, so you can't stack them. But first, any celestials, elementals, fae, fiend, or undead cannot enter the area. Nor can such creatures charm, frighten, possess creatures within it. So they can't even use some of those, some of those powers against you if you're in that radius. It's really going to protect you. Any creature charmed, frightened, or possessed by such a creature is no longer charmed, frightened, or possessed. So if you've got that going on, like a ghost possession in your party, and you're trying to stop that, Hallow spell. It's immediately going to end that effect on your teammate. It's going to protect your group in a very large radius and allow you time to rethink, replot, and approach the combat in a different way. Very cool. Very fire-based. Gee, I wonder why. As far as the features you get with the Fiend, as your patron at first level, you get Dark One's Blessing. When you reduce a hostile creature to 0 hit points, you gain temporary hit points equal to your Charisma modifier plus your Warlock level. So if you haven't done so already, check out our Intro to Warlock video, where we tell you that Charisma is is and should be your highest ability score when you create your character, because all your spell casting is fueled by your charisma modifier, but things like this also are. So the higher charisma modifier, the more temporary hit points you're going to get from this feature, which is important because you only have a D8 as hit dice. You do not have a really big healthy HP pool. So I'll take all the temporary hit points that I can get. So consider that. At 6th level, you get Dark One's Own Luck. You call on your patron to alter fate in your favor. When you make an ability check or saving throw, you can use this feature to add a D10 to your roll. You can do so after seeing the initial roll, but before any of the roll's effects occur. So again, this is going to be on a ability check or saving throw, not an attack roll, not a damage roll. Once you use this feature again, you can't finish until you short or long rest. So let's say I need to make a dexterity saving throw, and I rolled and my dex save was a 10 total. That's usually not going to cut it no matter what you're facing. So if I use this feature and I roll a d10, I rolled a 7, my 10 is now a 17. Do I pass, DM? Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. But it's a nice thing to have. Fiendish Resilience at 10th level. You choose one damage type when you finish a short or long rest. You gain resistance to that damage type until you choose a different one with this feature. Damage from magical weapons or silver weapons ignores the resistance. So this is going to be advantageous to you when dealing with I would consider using this a lot with an elemental damage, like if I'm going to take fire damage, cold damage, acid damage, something like that. Or if I recognize the creature and I pass my nature check, maybe I have an idea of what kind of damage the creature is dealing. I use this then and protect myself a little bit. At 14th level, you get Hurl Through Hell. When you hit a creature with an attack, you can use this feature to instantly transport the target through the lower planes. The target disappears and hurtles through a nightmare landscape. Yes. At the end of your next turn, the creature returns to the space it previously occupied or the nearest unoccupied space. This might be a good way to set a trap in the space it left behind for your party members, so when it does return, you can really get it. Snag it, right? That's what I would do anyway. If the target is not a fiend, it's going to take 10d10 psychic damage as it reels from its horrific experience. So not only are you essentially banishing it until the end of your next turn, giving your teammates an opportunity to reset themselves on the battlefield. Maybe you set up a way to flank it or surround it. Maybe you set some kind of trap. By the time it comes back, it's taking 10d10 psychic damage. So if that doesn't kill it, maybe your flanking will. Maybe the trap that you set will. This is a great feature to use, not only because it's awesome and you can describe it for the group what they see, but you're going to do a lot of damage. Psychic damage is, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like psychic damage is one of those that doesn't have, like, creatures, not a lot of creatures have a resistant or immunity to it, right? So it's going to be higher percentage that you're going to do a lot of damage with this thing, and it might not have resistances. Just make sure it's not a fiend, because if it is fiend, you're basically sending it home for a round, and it's not going to do anything to it other than, banishing it for, until the end of your next turn. And you could set up flanking and a trap, and all that stuff could still work, but it won't take the 10d10. I'm in it for the 10d10. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. Okay, moving on to the Great Old One. This is the last one in your player's handbook. This is where it gets really weird, because these are going to be mysterious entities whose nature is utterly foreign to the fabric of reality. Even you as their warlock aren't really going to understand what this patron wants from you, why they want it from you. It could get really scary. These might come from the far realm or space beyond reality. It could be one of the elder gods known only in legends. Their motives might be incomprehensible to mortals. its knowledge is so immense and so ancient that the great libraries pale in comparison to the vast secrets that this entity might hold. So what are we talking about here? Right? Like, this could be some great alien from some far realm of space. It could be some great creature that, you know, just has been observing for eons. There are some entities listed in here, and these are in D&D lore. If you don't know what they are, you could easily search them by typing in their name, 5e, and it'll pop up. But Gonadar, called the that which lurks, Tharizdun, the chained god, Dendar, the night serpent, Zargon, the returner, or the great Cthulhu. These are some of the ancient creatures or beings that could serve as the patron. Of course, any of this stuff you can homebrew. In the Archfey, the Fiend, this one, talk to your DM. Keep those lines of communication open. When you choose the Great Old One, the spells that you'll have access to are weird. First, Dissonant Whispers. This is a psychic effect where your target needs to make a wisdom saving throw. They need to be within 60 feet of you. If they fail, they take 3d6 psychic damage and immediately must use its reaction, if available, to move as far as its speed allows from you. You just freak it out and they have to move. Tasha's Hideous Laughter is a concentration spell, requires your concentration for a minute. If they fail a wisdom save, they're going to fall prone and be incapacitated and unable to stand during the duration, which is a minute. It's a long time considering a round of combat is 6 seconds. At the end of each turns, it can make a wisdom saving throw to try and get out of this. And if it succeeds, great, the spell ends, but that's their turn. So even if they get out of it their first turn, at least you got them to waste a turn getting out of it, right? It's worth it. And they're prone. So attacks against them will have advantage until that time, so it's totally worth it, even if it only lasts a round. Detect Thoughts, the ability to read surface thoughts without detection. If you want to probe deeper, your target needs to make a wisdom saving throw, but they're going to know that you were trying to read their thoughts if you're digging for something specifically. Phantasmal Force, we talked about this one. Includes some kind of phantasmal shape or object that can be a sound, a temperature, other kind of stimuli to essentially freak somebody out and cause a distraction. Clairvoyance is a spell that you'll get access to. You create an invisible sensor within range to a location that's familiar with you or you've visited before, or an obvious location that is unfamiliar to you, such as, you know, behind a door, around that corner, in that grove of trees. Essentially, when you cast this spell, you could choose seeing or hearing, and as your action, you can switch between the two, but essentially you can use this sensor to spy a little bit. And there's other cool things that it can do. Sending is you create a short message of 25 words or less, and you send that creature that message telepathically to your creature that you have in mind. As long as they, you know, can recognize you, they can answer in a like manner. So 25 words. Anybody who's watched Critical Role knows that Jester and Campaign Dude did this all the time. And people at the table sit there and will count the words to make sure that you're being concise. I do this at my table, and it's actually a lot of fun. Dominate Beast. So this is a charm, charming a beast if they fail the saving throw. And they can do things that you suggest to it, like attack that creature, run over there. Evard's Black Tentacles. I believe this made its appearance in Honor Among Thieves, the movie, when our beloved bard got wrapped up in the tentacles by the wizard. But anyway, that's essentially what this does. It's going to create a 20-foot square on the ground that you can see within range. During the duration, tentacles sprout from the ground and create difficult terrain. If a creature enters that area for the first time or starts its turn there, they must succeed on a dexterity saving throw, or they're going to take 3d6 bludgeoning damage from those tentacles and be restrained by them until the spell ends. A creature that starts its turn in the area and is already restrained by the tentacles will take a 3d6 bludgeoning damage. So it's just going to beat them around a little bit. But I think there's a strength save involved in getting out of those tentacles on that target's turns. Dominate Person is similar to Dominate Beast, but it needs to be a humanoid creature that you can charm, and you can give it an action that they will try to follow the best of their ability. Telekinesis is a 10-minute concentration spell that allows you to do a couple of things telekinetically. Not going to dive too deep into this spell, but there are different instructions on creatures versus objects that you want to pay attention to. But essentially, you can move or restrain objects or creatures telekinetically. Once you have access to those spells when choosing your new spells as you level, there are some other options or features that are available to you, like the others that we saw. At first level, you get Awakened Mind. Your alien knowledge gives you the ability to touch the minds of other creatures. You could telepathically speak to any creature you could see within 30 feet of you. You don't need to share a language with that creature in order for it to understand your telepathic utterances, but the creature must be able to understand at least one language. So that is important, and it's a very cool ability right at first level, because you get past those barriers of understanding each other with different languages being spoken at the table, which is cool. At 6th level, you get Entropic Ward. This is going to turn an enemy's failed strike into good luck for yourself. When a creature makes an attack roll against you, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on that roll. If the attack misses you, your next attack roll against the creature has advantage if you make it before the end of your next turn. So you can't hold it. You have to use it. Okay? Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. Let me rephrase that. You don't have to use it. You could choose not to, but it's not something you can hold and be like, I'll attack that with advantage 2 rounds from now. Can't do that, is what I'm saying. You're just going to impose disadvantage. If they miss you, it turns into advantage for you to attack them, but you got to do that on your next turn. If you choose not to, that benefit goes away. And it's only for you. It's not for your teammates. Okay, so Thought Shield. At 10th level, your thoughts can't be read by telepathy or other means unless you allow it. You also have resistance to psychic damage, and whenever a creature deals psychic damage to you, that creature takes the same amount of damage that you do. So it's basically like turning that resistance and taking that half that you take and spinning it off to the creature that attacked you, which is great. So you're going to take some damage, but so will your attacker. Hopefully they're dumb enough to do it again. Lastly, at 14th level, you create Thrall. This is the ability to infect a humanoid's mind with alien magic from your patron. You can use your action to touch an incapacitated humanoid. That creature is then charmed by you until a Remove Cursed spell is cast on it. The charm condition is removed from it, or you use this feature again. So you can essentially knock somebody out in combat, turn them into your thrall, and just have them with you for the remainder of the adventure. So long as you don't use this again, so long as you don't remove the charm condition from them, or so long as Remove Curse is not cast on them. Those are the 3 things that'll take it away. But could you just have that person with you always? Probably. Just, avoid Remove Curse. Don't end it. And, don't use this feature ever again. I don't know that you would do that. I think it's situationally that would be great to keep using it. Especially you could cause lots of distractions. Like if you're in combat in a room and you've got the rest of the dungeon to explore, send the thrall first. Send that thrall 30 feet ahead of you, roaming around, trying to see what's going on. They're charmed by you. Maybe they can give you a thumbs up, thumbs down if it's clear for you to follow. That would be a great way to use it as, for lack of a better expression, a meat shield. So that's just one way to use that. Think about it. It's fun. Okay, my friends, that is the deep dive on the Otherworldly patrons that appear in your player's handbook. Like I said earlier, there are other options available should your dungeon master allow those in your campaign, like Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, Xanathar's Guide to Everything. There are going to be other patron options available and third-party content as well. So just check with your DM. But as far as your player's handbook, these are 3 great options with 3 great unique spells that become available and features. So have fun building your Warlock, and we'll see you at the table.